So as I mentioned, we were going to discuss infrastructure on first-party data in the first part of the day. Now we're going to have a different conversation that talks about solutions and what is capable right now. How are we measuring? How are we understanding? I'd like to bring to the stage, and first of all, I'd like to thank DoubleVerify, because DoubleVerify is a gold partner of our event. We, as I mentioned earlier, we cannot do the events without our partners. So thank you so much to the team at DV. We work with them globally. Thank you so much to DV for helping us today and for the whole year. And so with that, I'd like to introduce a panel. First, Christina O from DoubleVerify, Sachin Souza from Precision at Publicis, and Sunil Nirani from Dentsu. Please come on up.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Look at this. We have a full panel with everybody in person. Isn't that nice?
Seems quite unreal.
Isn't that nice? It seems quite weird, right? Seems quite weird, but it is kind of the nice part of being together. And it was, it's funny from the production standpoint. The morning is where we had the people virtually, but all afternoon everybody's in person. So it just clustered that way. And anyway, I'm glad to have you here. So anyway, everybody, please take a quick minute, introduce yourself to the crowd, and welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Sachin D'Souza. I work for Precision and I look after supply for the region.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina. I work for DoubleVerify. I've been with the company for almost a year now, and I manage Southeast Asia.
Hi guys, I'm Sunil. I'm at Dentsu and I head up product for the region.
Okay. Sorry about that. Flip the page. So, a year ago, when we did this event, the last time we did this event was April. And I remember when we asked the question, were people ready for the end of cookies? And I think there was a lot of, and by the way, it wasn't just here, it was all over the world. Everybody kind of looked at each other and said, I have no idea. So it's almost exactly a year later. So question to the group. Are we ready, and where are we in the process of getting ready for the end of the third-party cookie? And anyone can jump in on this one. Or Chris, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to go first. And I think, look, when it comes to cookieless world, at DoubleVerify, I need to make it clear that we don't use or rely on any cookies, especially in our technology, right? And as clients are kind of gearing up for this cookieless world, that old school way of third-party audience targeting is really going to move into solutions that are going to be privacy safe. They're going to offer precise forms of optimizations and measurements, right? And then at DoubleVerify, one of the solutions do exist today, and that's contextual targeting. And if you think about it, like we provide our semantic science, ontology expertise to really focus on classifying content that, to ensure that when you're running ads, it's going to drive to the right website, down to the right page, even down to the right audience, right? And we also done studies, and we found that 70% of consumers are more likely to look at an ad when it's contextually relevant, and especially what they're consuming it, right? Sorry, is my mic okay? Okay. And that 44% of consumers are more likely to, test out an ad because thanks to the contextual ads. So, contextual intelligence is really going to stay. It's going to help, scale your audience. It's going to be privacy safe. Also, it's also going to, it doesn't need third-party cookies. So it's really changing the way consumers are going to be, experiencing it.
And Sachin and Sunil, talk about some of the new techniques. And so thank you, Christina, for telling us a little bit about that. The mic will be better. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what some clients are asking for. New technologies, new solutions. What are you hearing when you speak to customers, and when you're day to day? What are you thinking about?
I think what we're hearing about from customers is, I think there's a good awareness about the cookie deprecation. I think there's active solutions for hunting for how we can prepare for that world. There's a huge focus on using clients' first-party data. And I think there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum from browser targeting and cohorts and context, all the way down to premier first-party data marketplaces from publishers, and then through verified IDs. And so I think they're working their way down that addressability funnel, and we're assisting there in trying to gain scale and addressability. And so it's very active conversation. And I think from an infrastructure point of view, clients have their DMPs in place, they have their stacks in place, but now it's a question around how do we acquire more first-party users and grow their environment there. So that's the work we're doing.
Sunil?
I think the last part is precise. So the first question that comes to mind from clients is what's going to be impacting us. I guess that can be put into large 3 buckets. The first is you may not be able to identify the customer as well as you were earlier. The second is, if that's the case, how are you going to target? What are the targeting solutions? And then it moves on to the point of, if I'm going to collect first-party data, am I privacy compliant? Is my data strategy right or not? Now, that's typically with the buy side, the advertiser, and then the agencies. I guess the question from the publishers is, if cookies are going to go away, how is my revenue model going to be impacted? Do I have a balance in play? Is contextual the way to save that balance or not? Now, I mean, those are the large questions that we typically answer. And to be honest, there are many solutions there. A lot of them are very theoretical at this stage. Some of them have been tested, but there's not one solution that's absolutely scaled to answer all questions today. Yeah.
So everybody's still figuring it out. I think
Yeah, I would say
that's the answer is, at least we're aware there's progress being made. We're still figuring it out. Do things like contextual and well, before we even get to that, because that's specific, where does media quality come in? Because obviously, what are we trying to measure? I mean, I think one of the things that I think about a lot is the cookie. The cookie does 2 things. If you think about, well, it does a lot of things, but kind of in big buckets, it handles audience and it handles measurement. And a lot of people are talking about, how do I solve for both of those things at the same time? But the truth is, we're probably not going to be able to. So sticking with the measurement, media quality. So how are people thinking about, how am I going to solve for media quality first without getting into targeting like contextual? So Chris, what do you think when you hear the word media quality?
Sorry, when we think about quality, right, it's not just quality, it's about quality plus performance, which is really going to drive that combination into business outcomes, right? And in our world, when we think about quality, it really compromises of 4 key elements, okay? So number 1, viewability. Did your ad have the ability to be seen? Fraud. Was your ad being seen by a real human and not by a bot? Brand safety or suitability. Did your ads run contextually where it's against your brand values, or did it actually hinder and hurt your brand reputation? And then lastly, for geo, is it running where it's intended to run? You don't want ads like, let's say for instance, it's supposed to be running in Singapore, but it's actually running out of Bangkok, right? That's just wasted ad dollars. And at DoubleVerify, we developed the authentic ad, and that's really to deduplicate all these key solutions that we just talked about, and to ensure that your ads are going to be viewed, it's going to be seen by a real human, it's going to be running in brand safe environments, and also it's going to run in the intended location, right? So this is what we consider as the quality of the foundation of media quality.
And what about you guys? What do you think about metrics? Are customers concerned that the metrics aren't going to be there? Are they comfortable with the metrics that they're getting? And how are they thinking about the possibility of solving for potential metrics and KPIs in a post-cookie world?
I think, if you scale it up, there's, what is advertising? Is a right message to a right person at the right time, right? And so the message is solved for. I think when we look at the environments, the right person is the first party data targeting, and I think, or third party, and if that's going away, it impacts attribution, it impacts a bunch of metrics, but the media quality side, I think, is still safe and something that we can count on. Context helps us there, the various forms of targeting help us there. And I think as we spend more time in that ecosystem, it's solvable. We're taking steps in that direction. And then I think there's development of these frameworks for what kind of targeting, from an addressability point of view, works for various forms of media. And I think that's where we're spending time. So what works for CTV may not work for another form of targeting.
So I'm going to ask one more question, because we'll go and get into contextual, and then what we're going to do is we're going to flip this, and we're going to role play this. So we know what's possible. We know things are, and what we're going to do is we're going to role play this. We're going to pretend we're on a pitch, and we're going to do this for real. We're going to pretend no one's watching, no one's in the room, and we're going to pretend.
What's the budget?
What's the budget? Yeah, what's the budget? Who's the client? And we're going to pretend we're on a pitch. But before we get to that, contextual. Are people using it? Are people using it? And where are they in the life cycle? Like, I hear a lot of talk about it, but is it being used? How's it being used? How does it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely not like a rebirth of it, but there's a massive evolution, going on. I mean, we've jumped onto using contextual because it's inherently relevance of media placements or content, not really the audience or personal information. So I guess just that part makes it very safe. And then hence, interestingly, partners have built massive business models, and you'll see a new partner every day out there talking contextual as the core strategy. Now, funny enough, we've seen a lot that sometimes contextual very quickly goes into audience, and it should stop though. It shouldn't. But the understanding is such that that's how you get scale. So in our perspective, it's absolutely relevant to certain product categories. It's great. It is privacy safe, but it still lacks a lot of scale from the point of how contextual used to be. Very text driven, very website oriented, looking at the metadata. I guess where a lot of the new movement is happening is within the video aspect, where there's a frame by frame analysis of suitability and context, and it shouldn't just be seen as an open web phenomena. And I think we sometimes tend to just do that. And if you look at the pie of the dollar, you'd see that contextual is very low. But suddenly, if you look at the social platforms and talk contextual in that realm, it's multiple times of that. So I think that's something that we're exploring. And look, it requires a lot of data science at the end and lots of ingestion of data and then keeping it fresh and then evaluating. So I guess the strategy from an agency, at least for us, is have a kind of a balance between use different partners, understand, and then of course, end of the day, every holdco is building a proprietary tech, and that is needed for future.
Okay. So now we're going to have a pitch. All right. And this is how I think we set this up. You're both pitching together, and client gives you a brief, and they want to hit this target, and they want to hit this audience, and they want to spend this much money. When do you start pulling in all of these points? Contextual, measurement, attention. So when do you reach out to Christina and say, hey, can you help me solve for this? Because I've got to pitch it back to the client. Like, role play that for me a little bit.
We have frameworks in place.
Yeah.
So, we can take a budget and split it up by what strategy of targeting that we're doing. Context plays a large part, but it depends on the media, depends on what assets a client has, depend what's their eventual outcome is. That's where we kind of like balance out how we split up a budget.
Yeah.
And then platform dependent, and then assign it.
But role play for me. Client says to you, I'm, a typical client, right? I just read in the trades that cookies are going away, and I still want to do my attention metrics. Explain to me how I'm going to do that. And then when do you call and say, help me figure this out, right? Yeah. Play that out for me. Sunil, tell me about how that happens.
Well, I think, again, probably won't be the answer that you're looking for. But yeah. I mean, at the highest level, if it's an annual gig, right? So you would have certain pillars specifically stated out. Yeah. In terms of the play from DV will be, how do you ensure media quality is there? So everything from day one is trusted and is transparent, and you're in safe hands. I guess a lot of it changes when you look at different business objectives, because to your earlier question, media quality absolutely important. Yes, brand safety, viewability, fraud, important, but I guess there was a time we used to talk about CPM, then eCPM, then viewable CPM, and then now this has gone into other metrics of attention and things like that, which again we are still figuring out because there are empty number of methods out there, and some are panel based, some are different methods. So we're still figuring those things out. And the last part, which we can't ignore, is the performance aspect, right? So which to your point, measurement. So now is it a ad tech level measurement, or it goes deeper into a MarTech level measurement where you have that first party and it's not just about contextual, but the entire gamut of contextual plus your universal IDs that are out there, which are though not scaled. So you got to use a portfolio approach or others that are probably more cohort driven. So it's going to be all of those together. Very difficult question for me to answer.
Yeah.
And I guess you mentioned attention, right? So DoubleVerify was to come in and say like, look, at the end of the day, we do have a product and it's called Authentic Attention. And it's really about ensuring, if you think about it, attention is really a hot topic in the industry right now as well too. Like we're bombarded with so many ads, right? You think about it, like how many of you actually remember an ad that was on the website that you last read, right? So you really have to be paying attention first for it to really resonate, right? So at DoubleVerify, we do have a product called Authentic Attention, and it really compromises of two key components, okay? So that's exposure and engagements. And what do I mean by that? When we talk about exposure, it's really about the ad's presentation, right? So, the time spent on it, share of screen, the audibility, right? It's really to ensure that people, after the ad was viewed, they actually remember it. Then the second point is about engagement, which is really us analyzing the interaction of the ad, right? Are people actually touching it? Are they, change of the screen orientation? Are they turning on and off the sound? We want to ensure that people are actually interacting with the ad, right? So, and the great thing about this is that it's all being analyzed in real time. So you can have a better understanding in terms of your users' attention and how they resonate with the creative at hand, right? And, out of all the studies that and campaigns that we ran, that one, we have seen higher correlations with people who have high engagements and user attention to drive correlation into performance, right? So, we worked with a global tech company and they saw that, 32% of the high engagement impressions were really driving signups, which then led into sales, which drives into your performance outcome. And that's ultimately like the end game for it, right? Yeah.
Just to jump
So we're
on
going to
that.
definitely speak
so that
to
we sold,
Christina.
right? And then you'll be activating
Absolutely.
DoubleVerify, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so keep going. I was going to say so great answer. Does that help you win the pitch? Or where do they push back? Right? Where do they push back? So pretend nobody's here. So, okay, ask a follow-up question. This gets me, I'm in the room. What Christina just told me gets me 80% of the way there. How do I need this? What's this maybe more you might need to help me win the pitch with the client?
I think 30% sales is just good. But yeah, I think it's more about the performance at the end of the day. I think a lot of the planning can really happen, but it's more about, is it a scale solution that can be deployed? And again, APAC is a complicated region. So depending on which market, what's the nuances. To your question earlier, we don't really know the average CPMs of mobile app because that itself has many subcategories in it. So, but yeah, I think 80% is still good. Yeah.
We've been partners for a long time, and so I guess based on exposure and engagement, we drive attention up. Within the agency, we obviously have pricing, and so we bring in efficiency, and then we start to marry up those three at a property level, so we can see what is the value of any property based on its attention and its pricing. And then can marry up and build models around how we provide targeting to clients, and then how we surface good, valuable inventory and suppress others.
80% is a good score. Yeah, 80% is a good score. No, I think that's valuable. I think that's what I'm trying to get at is, people always want to get an understanding, because whether they're, they're talking to an agency or they work at a measurement company, what are the questions I'm getting in the day-to-day, and how am I dealing with them? Because they probably fly so quickly at you, right? An email, but I need this tomorrow, right? Send me this today, or I need this, and the client's sending it to you, and then you're sending it to your partners, and it goes back and forth. So I think the more we can unpack what's happening in a day-to-day, the more helpful it is. You know, to kind of so thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. 80% is good. 80% is good. Any questions out there, kind of in the topic area? You know, obviously we're centered around what measurement we could do without cookies, but also with the, you know, how do attention and measurement metrics get discussed in the middle of a client pitch in the day-to-day? Anybody out here want to jump in? Okay, well then I'll let you guys wrap it up. Where are we in kind of the evolution here? You know, if you know, just timeline, crystal ball. Like, do you feel like we're in a place where you know we know you know, how to do what we need to do? You know, are we all the way there? Are we 50% of the way there? Kind of where are we? And Christina, why don't you answer first?
Yeah, sure. You know, definitely there's a lot of chatter in this topic. I think publications are doing a great job about educating the masses, and our clients ourselves are really gearing up and, you know, keeping themselves educated, as well as understanding the new innovations and the offset that's happening with the cookieless world, right? So if new clients are coming in asking us, I would say there's a few key things that they should focus on, right? Number one is really to start your foundation of quality media for all your channels and all your ad formats. Get compliant now, like understand your tech stack, know exactly, you know, transition more into a privacy safe media strategy buy, right? Push boundaries, right? Go beyond that viewability or that clicks. Really understand your campaign and what's really grasping the user's attention. And then, you know, attention is also fleeting, right? So creativity and contextual relevance really has to play hand in hand, especially to understand the mindsets of the consumers. And then, like, lastly, you know, continue to educate yourself. It's constantly changing and evolving. So, you know, it's really important for marketers to really, you know, pay attention and really stay abreast in terms of this topic.
Thank you, gentlemen. In your perspective, do you think the clients feel like this is under control today, or how comfortable are they? There's still a lot of questions. Like,
well, I think it's going to be a mixed one. So some of the clients that they are really investing a lot in data infrastructure strategy and build on from there on. But I guess for a lot of the others, it's still around you know, recognizing those, but maybe it's not really the time or the urgency. And then again, there are always going to be two sides of the coin. But I guess there's a lot of conversation to what Christina said. A lot of education is happening. We're doing very deep projects on just analyzing the cookieless state of our clients in a lot of ways, and that goes across ad tech, martech, both, and then not just limited to the ad serving part of it, but also the infrastructure, the way we collect, you know, and measure and then activate the entire workflow.
Sachin, last word.
I think we're starting off at a pretty good media quality level. And so now we have a huge focus around frameworks and testing, as well as a deeper engagement in the market and the marketplace, so that we can then, you know, engage with publishers for first-party data sources and authentic IDs and kind of test that space. So that's where we're focused on.
Nice. Thank you. Hope I didn't put you too much on the spot. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Stevie, for putting this together, and thanks for playing along. I think this was fun, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you.